we're here. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for not making me do this alone. We have gathered here today for the plot summary of Wielder, which is the sequel, which is the final book in the duology that started with Metal Slinger. I think about that book way more than I should. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a plot summary for Metal Slinger. I'm gonna be honest with you, to toot my own horn, I genuinely think that's my funniest plot summary video I've ever made, because that book made me so angry. It was so stupid that like the memes, the jokes wrote themselves. As poorly written as that book was, at least it was entertaining because you could laugh at how stupid it was. For all of the wrong that was going on in Metal Slinger, at least it was laughable. This book, guys, I was genuinely bored to tears. It took me way longer than it should have to write this. My script is 24 pages. I'm really going to try my best to make this entertaining. It's diabolical how boring this book is. If you want to know how she corrects all of the inconsistencies and the plot holes and everything, strap in, but you're going to be disappointed. And when she did try to discuss certain things, like I'll give her that. I feel like she or like her team or whatever must have read some of the negative reviews, because I feel like she had a list next to her of plot holes and inconsistencies that she needed to explain, because it would just be so like we'd be talking about like, gee, what are we gonna have for breakfast? By the way, we had enough dirt so that Messer could so random. Did it clear anything up? No. So to just remind you where you are, we left the gang in the throne room. Acker is tied up with a chain that has spikes in it. He has been slightly poisoned, less poisoned. Everyone else has been poisoned. The king has been stabbed, and the coup has been started by Jovie, aka Bryn. Remember, her name was Bryn, but it's really Jovie. We have his half-sister Bo, and we have best friend Messer. At some point, Acker gets untied. He basically tells Jovie, you gotta go. Like, I don't ever want to see you again. And Jovie kind of gives him this ultimatum of like, we want you to take your dad's throne, and then we can all rule in peace. Like, Kai will be in charge of Alaha, I'll be in charge of Melee, you'll be in charge of Kenta, world peace. And Acker is basically like, you have betrayed me, get the fuck out. So that's where we're at. Okay, she runs off. Our book starts with a 4-year time jump. If that's not a fucking cop-out, I don't know what is. What do you mean? You have this like insane cliffhanger ending that shocked everyone, and then instead of finding a way to like continue the story to clear it up, you have everyone take a 4-year timeout so that you can just write a bunch of flashbacks to like clear things up. When I heard that, I actually knew that before I went into it. I saw it because it tells you on Goodreads, or it tells you in the summary. I knew that this book was going to be stupid, and boy howdy it was. So anyway, enough of an introduction. I've got my coffee. Let's dive in. I'm gonna really try my best, guys. We're gonna really try and have fun with this, but damn, did she make it hard. We start our book with simply a 2-year time jump, okay? We start with a letter to Acker. We quickly realize that a war started. Apparently, Royson is fighting with Kenta, and Jovie is letting him know that the Alaha forces are going to be joining Royson to fight Kenta. As she's writing to him, she's like, listen, okay, so I know that means you're gonna have to call in for help, and you're gonna call Strow, which is your closest and only ally, which your closest and only, you could say your only ally. And then she says, Strow, your closest and only ally to the north of both our territories across the Gulf. Like, does Acker need a map to know where his only ally lives? The world building, the clunkiness of this world building. Anyway, she's basically like, could you not call for help? Could you risk the lives of all of your people? Because it doesn't really make any sense, but she's basically like, if Strow gets involved, they're gonna come after my people. I can't have that. I can't have innocent lives lost. Kenta people, fuck them, you know? My little babies, please don't call for backup. She also then says, if you still can't see that your father is a piece of shit, then you don't deserve the crown like I thought you did.
This skank bitch I've ever met.
And if my people are attacked, I will assume it's your fault and an act of war, and I'll happily send my melee army for both of your heads. Love, Jovie. Quick reminder, yeah, she's princess of Melee. Acker is the prince of Kenta. Kenta, his daddy, King Edmund, is a piece of shit, Jovie's words. He doesn't like magic being used by anyone other than himself and basically his army. So in the first book, we have seen that he has executed little kids because they haven't registered their magic early enough. He keeps people in cages that hang from the palace walls. He doesn't allow for intermarriage. Anyone with magic is like incredibly oppressed and treated horribly in Kenta. Okay, so we're in agreement. King Edmund, shitty dude. Why didn't Acker let him die when he was stabbed at the end of the previous book? Unknown. Long story short, daddy issues, but here we are. But nobody's gonna see this letter because right after she finishes writing it, Jovie just burns it. She's like, ew, cringe, asking Acker for help. She's like, I could help my people or I could help my dignity. And she's like, dignity, priorities. We also are told that Jovie is like wrapped up in manji stones. I don't know. They're basically like suppressants. So you could wear a collar of these stones, you could wear a belt, whatever, but if you have it on your person, it suppresses your magic. And so because Acker and Jovie are still matched, not mates, matched, they still have the bond and they're constantly like jumping into each other's brains and can like see out of each other's eyes, or sometimes they can be like ghosts in the room with them. Again, world building, we don't really know. There's no rhyme or reason for this connection. Either way, we can't have our enemy looking into our head unannounced, right? So she wraps herself up in stones, and apparently the one time she didn't, she saw something that she really didn't want to see. So now she's like diligent about her use of the stones. Okay, so that's that. That was 2 years into the war where clearly things are already falling to shit. Now we jump 2 years further. And while the first book was 100% Jovie's POV, this book is, I want to say 50-50, it might be even more. We've got Acker's POV. And remember when I said that in Metal Slinger, Acker had no personality? He was just vaguely described as like tall, dark, handsome, and a warrior prince. And like we as the reader, we're supposed to fill in the blanks of who he is. Imagine reading half of a book that is the POV of a shell of a man. This boy has no personality, but lucky for us, we get to be in his brain for half of this. So here we go. Acker's POV. He's running down the stairs half dressed. He's like, where the fuck is he going? Apparently daddy is getting into a carriage and Acker is like, we have a meeting in like 5 minutes. Where's he going? He's like trying to put his clothes on. He's like, Hallis, where is my dad? Apparently daddy has like a girlfriend or like a little side piece that he's gonna go visit. Eventually Acker gets down and like pulls open the carriage door and is like, Dad, emergency council meeting. And King Edmund is basically like, sounds like your problem, son, and peels off. Now, some updates, because the last time we saw this man, he was stabbed and dying, and the rest of his council was also dead on the dance floor. Acker obviously survived. Edmund obviously survived. The rest of the council did not. He actually says Jovie and her pet shifter, Messer, killed everyone in my father's council. He refers to Messer as Jovie's pet the entire book. Her pet bird, her pet shifter, her pet. Messer is never a man. And during these 4 years, Jovie has gone from the girl that everyone threw tomatoes at because she was a witch to being a beacon of hope in this revolution, because apparently Melee is like a utopia and people with magic live happily alongside people without magic, and the people of Kenta have kind of gotten word of this, and the rebellion there has really grown some strong roots. So the people of Kenta are fighting back. But we've got an emergency meeting to get to. So Acker runs back up into his room because he needs to grab his necklace, which is the suppressing stones, and he wears them because number one, apparently the council is uneasy about how powerful Acker is. Have we seen any evidence of these powers? No. There's no metal slinging to be found. Even in this book, honestly, we don't really see his powers. So like this allegedly all-powerful prince that we've seen no evidence of, he needs to wear that to make his council less nervous around him. And number 2, he can't have Jovie peeking in, spying on council meetings, okay? But he's not too worried about that because apparently she tried that once and, quote, I'm positive she learned her lesson the first time. I made sure of it. So whatever he showed Jovie, or whatever Jovie saw when she popped in there, wasn't good. We get to the meeting. People aren't happy to see him. And this is a theme since the beginning of the book, is that Acker is a shitty prince. Acker doesn't do anything. He can't stand up to Daddy Dearest. He holds basically no power. And the council knows this. They're basically like, why are we talking to this nothing burger of a man? Where's the king? We have something really important to talk about. And Acker's basically like, this is what you got. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry, man. And Acker's kind of freaked out because the person who called this meeting is named Tyreek. And he knows Tyreek from the military. And apparently he's pretty unshakable. This is a pretty stoic man. He looks nervous. So Acker is like, oh, this is going to be really bad news. Apparently, like the letter said 2 years ago, Alaha and Royson have joined forces and they're getting through the front lines, which means in a couple of weeks, they're probably going to reach the capital. And not only that, that particular area is where they grow most of their food. And they're already having food supply issues in Kenta. If Alaha gets control of their wheat fields, they're fucked. And remember, Kenta has been controlling the food supply to Alaha for centuries. And so Alaha's basically like, yeah, how you like them apples? Maybe you shouldn't starve people for hundreds of years. Then maybe we wouldn't be burning your wheat. But Acker's basically like, listen, we don't have the men to spare. So I would just say, good luck, boys. He offers some tactical advice. He's basically like, go to this valley. I think you can go here. Enough to satisfy Tyreek. But in case it wasn't obvious, they are losing this war. Badly. And what happened to their closest and only ally, Strow? Strow is having a really hard time reaching them because the only way to get to them is, I think, either to climb impassable mountains or to cross the Gulf. And every time they cross the Gulf, melee ships sink them and they cannot get supplies, they cannot get men, they're screwed. Basically. We do have one Strow representative in the council. His name, I think, is pronounced Brew, but it's written B-R-U. And the sentence starts like Acker just turns and goes, bruh. It's like his name's bruh. And according to Acker, bruh is, quote, fucking atrocious to look at and nearly twice the size of Hallis. Acker calls him a mammoth. We get a lot of this. In like the first 20% of the book, we get a lot of really weird details about people. We never touch them again. You'll see this with a lot of introductions of new characters where it's like, oh my gosh, a fucking atrocious mammoth man? Tell me more. Nope. But he and Hallis are going to have a meeting about how to help Strow bring more people in. And why isn't Acker in this meeting? Because if you remember in the previous book, he made a blood oath in which Mr. Acker said, quote, I swear to protect Jovie with my dying breath. And so apparently any move he makes that could put Jovie in jeopardy could kill him. And could kill Jovie as well. Why did he make this vow? Genuinely, no idea. Simply so that we could set this up. I don't know. But yeah, he can't make any decisions that would hurt Jovie, and sort of hurting Jovie equals hurting melee as a whole. So how can you go to war against a kingdom where you have basically sworn to protect it with your dying breath? But there is a workaround. He has been studying blood oaths for months, if not years. Actually, it says weeks on weeks, sometimes months on months. I don't know. Anyway, in his studies, he has found that the only way to break the oath is if the second part of it becomes untrue. So in the oath, he made one promise, and then he said one truth. So he said, I will protect her with my dying breath, and I love her. So apparently if he stops loving her, if that truth becomes a lie, it negates the oath will be broken, right? But apparently he just can't quit her. And he can't stop loving her no matter how much he tries. And blood oath or not, Jovie will always be my greatest weakness. And Acker doesn't like to be alone with his thoughts, so he goes off and he meets up with his friend Wells, the blacksmith. As he's walking there, because he found a way to sneak out of the palace, so he's walking through the city without an entourage, and it is a ghost town. People have either left to get away from the incoming army, the front lines, or they've just like died, or they stay inside because they're scared to go out. Like, it's a pretty desolate place. And he makes his way to the forge where he finds his bestie, Wells. If we remember, Wells and Olivia, they were like bubbly, nice people. Okay. And he just wants to check about the armor. He's like, listen, we've got an army hauling ass, probably going to be here in about a week. How's the armor going for our army? And the news, surprise, is not good. Has there ever been in this book series a point where Acker receives good news? I don't think so. And Wells is kind of a little short with Acker. He's like, sorry, man, like, you gotta wait at least 2 weeks. We're working really hard here. And Acker is like, oh, you got something to say to me? And Wells is basically like, ugh. First of all, I'm really tired. And second of all, you come here every few weeks asking about supplies, and no matter how fast I make them, you're pissed off about it. And it's getting really old, okay? Wells is like, how are we supposed to have supplies for our army when we don't even have food? Like, everyone is starving in Kenta. Okay. And Acker is actually really shocked by this reaction. Acker cannot read a room to save his life. He's like, oh my God, you're unhappy. He just walked through a desolate city where people have like starved or fled in fear. Hello! And he's like, Wells, you're not happy with the situation? But anyway, we've got bigger problems because Wells is like, let's take this conversation to my office where I can sit down. And they walk in and the office is full of hearthstone. This is a material that can, if properly placed, will get rid of someone's magic or just kill you. Right? But it will steal the magic from you. This is confusing and concerning for a bunch of reasons because number one, how the fuck did we get all of this material, right? We're short on men. How are there people in the mines? My dad never mentioned any of this. This is crazy that we have this much material that is very difficult to come by. Why are we making this? And number two, and rereading that. So I read the book for the first time and wrote this plot summary at the same time. So this is my second time reading the book. I'm noticing so many more plot holes. This is infuriating. We're also supposed to be concerned about the fact that whoever makes the weapon, whoever finishes forging the weapon made of hearthstone, they have the ability to recall it. So if we remember in the first book, when Jovie threw her knife in the ocean and then Acker was like, you can just call it back. And she did. That's because her dad, when she was little, helped her like finish the forging. So she had control of that weapon. Apparently, because Wells is making all of these weapons, at the snap of his fingers, he could like recall all of the weapons from the army. Does that ever happen? No, but it's something we should be concerned about, according to like the first chapter of this book. But do you know why Wells is in a shitty mood? It's not because he's overworked. It's not because he doesn't have food. It's not because his friend is an idiot. It's because his gorgeous, beautiful, funny wife, Olivia, is pregnant. In the middle of a war, he's like, ooh, so happy to have a child with the love of my life, but the timing, not the best. Not the best. And so he's going to send Olivia away to live with his parents where it's somewhere safer. And he's going to be separated from his pregnant wife and future child. And he's really pissed off about this. And this is where Wells drops some lore, where we figure out what has been happening in the past 4 years. Wells, please tell us. Apparently, at the end of Metal Slinger, the whole coup situation, Jovie offered Acker a truce. Remember, she was like, get your daddy off the throne and world peace. We'll all be allies. This will be great. And Acker is like, ooh. Acker let daddy live, even though he was bleeding out and like was definitely gonna die if we had just left him for like another minute, but apparently we didn't. So Wells and Olivia are pissed. Basically, this entire war that's been going on for 4 years could have been avoided if Acker was just like, yeah, you're right. My dad actually is a horrible person and we could remove him from the throne. I could just let him bleed. But no. Okay, so Wells and Olivia, even from the first book, is like, Acker, you're a piece of shit. I love you, but as a ruler, you don't have my vote. Wells agrees. Wells is like, listen, push come to shove, we're on Jovie's side. And apparently, we're really lucky because Jovie is actually playing very nice. Jovie has never sent the melee troops to attack Kenta. She's basically just sitting back and defending her people while everybody else fights among themselves. Kenta should have been destroyed a long time ago. Apparently, Acker rightfully regrets this decision of, quote, "Of all the lives I've taken, none have haunted me like the ones I possibly sacrificed by saving my father." Yeah, thousands of his people have died because he wanted to save Daddy, who is essentially pro-genocide. So, cool. Do we really want Acker as our king? Nope, we do not, is the answer. And Wells agrees. Wells says, "Ace, I'll never be against you. I'm just asking if you can end this war by any means. Please do it." And he's basically like, you and Jovie are still matched. You are still in love. If you reach out to her, she will listen. And Acker is basically like, no can do, brother. Sorry. Good luck with the armor. Good luck with the weapons. I gotta get home. I've got a wife to return to. You've got a wife? We switch POVs. We are with Joe, not Jovie. Joe are on the battlefield. We get introduced to some new faces, some old faces. We have General Samasu, who we often call Sam. We also have Frederick, who is a silent but deadly soldier, apparently. And he follows Jovie around. He's her little bodyguard, as much as she doesn't want one. Apparently one time she did ask him to back the fuck off, and all he did was stare at her with indifference. So he's a shadow she can't shake. She helps clean the battlefield of dead bodies. Everyone is dying for 4 years. Every day people are dying because of Acker's whack decision. Okay, she goes back to her tent to wash off the blood and guts, and she is not excited about sleeping. She has not slept for basically 4 years because she either closes her eyes to have nightmares about killing Kai, killing Acker, or worse, she has good dreams about Acker because she's still deeply in love with this man, and it's painful. She's just tired. Okay. And speaking of memories, she constantly is thinking about how stupid her plan was in Metal Slinger. Okay. So that entire book that we read with that like amazing plot, even Jovie, main character of the book, is like, that was fucking stupid. Whoever wrote that. God.
I need to calm down. Everything's fine.
Amanda.
I'm an adult.
Okay, basically she says, if I could go back and do things differently, I have to believe that this is the author speaking about plotting her book. Jovie says, if I could go back and do things differently, I would. After I left Alaha and got on that stupid fucking dinghy with Acker, I believe those are my words, not hers. The stupid fucking dinghy part. She should have said, screw Kai and his little plan, and just told Acker everything. She has been planning to overthrow the king of Kenta for forever, like since the beginning, right? But she didn't trust Acker enough to let him know. She always thought like, oh my God, maybe if I tell him too early, he'll find a way to like protect his father and kill me. So I need to wait until the very end and then he'll see the light. I'll tie him to a chair with spikes going into his body and surely he'll be like, yes, Jovie, I'm on your side. She's like, I should have brought him to Melee where he could see the utopia of magical people living in harmony and realize that his dad has batshit insane rules, that if he just took over the throne, we could make Kenta this kind of beautiful place too. But instead, we went with the first plan. She says that she was young and naive and distrustful, and that fucked everything up. But then she's like, but to be fair to myself, maybe I was right to not trust Acker because that little backstabbing bitch married Irina right after I left. The girl he was engaged to in the last book that he was basically like, sorry, Irina, I've got a match now. Bye, girl. They're married now. But before we can get too sad, our comedic relief shows up. He startles Jovie because who the fuck is coming into her tent unannounced? So she like swipes him with a dagger and almost takes his finger off. And instead of saying sorry, she's like, oh, you probably could grow one back. He's a shifter. He's like, yeah, next time you shift, just like grow a finger back. And Messer's like, that's not how it works. Not that we know, because we don't know how the magic works. But thank God the man is wearing pants because this man is naked all the time because whenever he shifts, he loses his clothes. But he has, in this case, stolen a pair of pants from a sleeping soldier outside of her tent. So he is at least half clothed. And he's like, listen, I would love to make jokes. I would love to lighten the mood, but it's happening. Royson is making the final push. They're invading Kenta. It's going down. But let's return to Acker and his wife, okay? First of all, as usual, Acker's having a bad day because all of the ships that Stroud recently sent were attacked by some mythical bird, and everyone was eaten. This is gonna come up at the end of the book, but I just want you to know that throughout the story, Messer, when he is in his bird form, is just like fully eating people. Like he is, if he attacks a ship, he eats all of the soldiers. So he has probably in the past 4 years consumed hundreds of people. And he just like, delicious. Okay, so I just want you to know that that's what's, whenever Messer isn't on the page, he's probably like munching on some bones. So Irina, wife, what's up? She has changed. She's gotten a little bit more hostile over the years because before Acker found Jovie again, he was very prepared to marry Irina. He was sort of like, yeah, she was nice. Like I enjoyed taking long walks in the garden with her. Sometimes she would like bat her eyelashes at me and I was like, this girl's cute. This is great. Where did she go? I don't know, Acker. Maybe because you declared your love for Jovie in front of everyone, including her and her parents, and was basically like, I will not marry Irina. I would rather die. And then he turns around and marries her and he's like, why isn't she, God, what's this with this attitude? So let's just say from the beginning of the marriage, she has not been warm. And now she is apparently downright cold. She is like, Acker, I want out of this marriage. She's like, please send me to Stroud. I want to go live with my parents. I can't stay here in this ugly ass deserted city with a man who hates me. You also don't want to do the one thing that's my job, which is make babies. So what am I doing here? Let me go home. Acker is sort of like, tough luck, girl. My dad will never let you leave. That would be way too embarrassing. So have a good night. And he walks to his spare bedroom. So they do not sleep in the same room. And this is when he really struggles. When he's right about to go to sleep is when he struggles the most thinking about Jovie, because he has a robe that she wore 4 years ago that he hasn't washed, that apparently still smells like her. And he just like buries his head in the robe and is just like, he used to blame it on the bond, but he quit lying to himself a long time ago. He just loves her. Like, with or without the bond, Jovie's his girl, okay? And if you thought sniffing her clothes for 4 years was weird enough, he has sneakily found a way to override the stones. Apparently the bond is so strong that if he takes off his necklace, he can override Jovie's stones and like go as a phantom and watch her. So he pulls an Edward Cullen and just watches her sleep. And you want to know what's infuriating to him about this situation is that apparently in the like ghosty state that he's in, he can smell everything. Like he's in her tent on the battlefield. He can smell like the fires and the dirty, bloody men that is surrounding, but he can't smell Jovie. That's the one thing that doesn't come through, is her delicious scent. But as he looks down at her sleeping face, he gets kind of excited about the fact that the war is gotten so bad that eventually they'll have to meet up to fix this. And regardless of if it's fear or excitement on her face, he just wants to see it. Poor baby. Honestly, I've yet to see a green flag, but it does it for Jovie. You will find out. Even more bad news for our poor baby is that he has to say goodbye to Hallis. His best friend, other than Wells. Hallis has to go do a thing. He has to go check on the people who are having a rough time. Yeah, Hallis is gonna go rescue one of the dudes because they were close when they were younger. And Acker pulls Hallis aside and he's like, listen, you come back alive. You understand me? Go in, get our brother, that's it. Don't try to be the hero. And Hallis is just like, okay, man, and leaves. And so you'd think that Hallis might be in trouble. Whenever someone says, don't be the hero, and it's like the nice, fun, best friend side character, you'd think Hallis would be at risk in any way, shape, or form later in the plot. No, that's annoying. Back in Jovie's POV, she has woken up. She is unaware that she has been watched all night. She is also having a really hard time because of Acker's stupid decision. She has spent her time on the battlefield. She has like won over the hearts of 99.9% of her people, but she knows that there's a small handful that are pissed at her for not just killing the king. Like, she stabbed him, he was very close to death, but she gave Acker the choice to save him or let him die. And some of the people, mainly the people who have had their sons and husbands and brothers die in this war that's been going on, they're sort of like, bitch, why didn't you just do it.
Why should Caesar get to stomp around like a giant while the rest of us try not to get smushed under his big feet? We should totally just stab Caesar!
So she's kind of having a hard time. So mommy wants her to come home. Who is delivering this message to her? General Samasu, aka Sam. I'm just gonna call him Sam from now on. Sam's magic is that he can teleport, which is another magic that we didn't know existed.
I wasn't aware that was something a person could do.
And we still have no idea how the magic works. I would love for there even to just be like a map, honestly. Speaking of map, Jovie grabs one. She, more than anything, wants this battle to be over. So she's looking at the map. She notices some interesting things in the geography. She's like, valley, cave. And she comes up with a brilliant plan, but she needs some help. Luckily, she has someone glued to her hip. She's like, I fucking hate this creep, Frederick, but he's gonna have to help me with this because I'm gonna go off alone so as to not risk more death, and I'm gonna kill a bunch of the Strau army and end this war. She essentially wants to like start some strategic fires that will literally smoke them out and push them back. In order to do that, she needs access to her magic. So she's gonna take off her stones. And she's like, don't worry about it. Acker probably never takes off his stones because he doesn't want me spying on him. He probably won't even notice if I take mine off. Let's go not tell anyone what we're doing. Let's go burn these people to the ground. This takes a few days. They end up needing to sleep. And this is when we learn about Frederick's magic, which is that he can shield things where like the cold can't come in, like an arrow, whatever. He's untouchable, basically. And so he's like, Jovie, get some sleep. I will protect us. And Jovie is like, you can't protect me from my nightmares. And so she doesn't sleep. So they end up having a little heart to heart. Frederick is basically like, so is it guilt that makes you act this way? And Jovie's like, excuse me?
Wait, are you Catholic?
No, I'm just a girl.
He's like, you know how you always say that you're fine when you clearly aren't fine? And Jovie is like, okay, I'm pretty sure you're here to just protect me and not say every stupid little thought that goes through your head.
I just want you to stop saying odd shit.
And Frederick's like, well, here's my last stupid thought then. You know that it takes more than 2 people to start a war, right? He's like, people are idiots and they're looking for people to blame. So they're calling this war, like the kind of gossips are saying that this war is just like a lover's quarrel and we're just dying because Acker and Jovie can't get their shit together, which they're not wrong. But he's like, this has been bubbling for forever. You guys might be the main characters, but like it takes more than 2 people. He's basically like, get over yourself, girl. Like this isn't all about you. And besides, even if it was, I would love to fight in like a lover's spat instead of just like old men that are greedy. He's like, yeah, a war over broken hearts, is that so terrible? And Jovie, who has had to pick up dead bodies from the battlefield for 4 years, is like, yes? And he just shrugs. He's like, there's worse things to die for. Okay. The next day, we get to the cavern. They quickly realize that they have miscalculated. They have severely underestimated the number of soldiers that they're dealing with. And basically, they want to set the fire deep in the cavern. Why not set it at the mouth of the cavern? I don't know. But they have to like creep their way through these like sleeping soldiers to get to the back of the cavern to start a fire with her lightning magic. Okay. Very quickly, everybody wakes up and a bloody battle ensues. Why can't Frederick just use his shield to protect them? I don't know. Lots of stabbing, lots of bones cracking, okay? And as they're fighting, there's like a pause in the action and Frederick just looks at Jovie and he's like, girl, are you like afraid of the dark? What is this? You're a light wielder. Give us some light, show off. And so for the first time since she left Kenta, she takes off her stones and it kind of takes a second because she hasn't used her magic in a while. And then she feels it. Painful, delicious, intoxicating, powerful. But just as she starts to use her magic to like zap everybody, she starts to have her attention split. Like at 1 second she's looking at the cave, 1 second she's looking at like a cozy fireplace somebody is reading in a couch. She's trying to fight it. She can't pull back. She's in Acker's head. Frederick screams Jovie, and that's when Acker's head snaps up. The last thing she sees is a view of Acker's bedroom and the figure of a woman asleep in his bed. But Frederick gets her full attention, calls her back, and she just does a shit ton of light and sword things and fucks up some soldiers. But Acker is still in the vision. She didn't fully hang up the phone. So Acker is in the living room, just like watching this all happen on a screen. Irina has woken up. Why is he in Irina's room while she's sleeping? Nobody knows. She's basically like, are you okay? What's going on? And he is like, not now, wife. And remember, she can't see anything that he's seeing. So he's just like sitting in his little armchair, like, he walks outside to the hallway so that he can watch this go down in private and not freak his wife out. He's partially amazed watching Jovie fight, but mostly very, very scared. He eventually forces himself into his own body instead of being in the vision, but he can still feel it when Jovie gets her cheek cut. And he feels immediate rage. Like he wants to jump in that battle right now. And this solidifies Acker's worst fear. Even after everything she's done, I would never abandon her. If it were possible, he'd be in that battle fighting his allies right now because she got a little scrape on her cheek. So how is he supposed to go to war? Back in Jovie's POV, they get back to camp, and I just have to point this out because this made me laugh out loud. The one time that I actually laughed out loud in this book, General Sam tries to get Jovie to go to the medical tent to get her cut looked at. And she's like, no, there are people who are more injured than me. My wounds are just artificial. Don't worry about it. You mean superficial? You mean superficial. Your wounds are artificial? Girl, are you wearing special effects makeup? What do you mean? I do not believe that the publisher gave her an editor. Like, I just don't believe this. But anyway, she had a rough day, okay? She drops into sleep. She's having a good dream. She's having a good Acker dream when she wakes up, when she sees the outline of a soldier creeping up to her tent to kill her. He's got a knife, okay? His knife is raised. He's standing over her bed when another figure comes out of nowhere and disarms him and pretty sure kills him. And Jovie's like, oh, I got it. I'm still in a dream. I'm in a dream within a dream because Acker's here in her tent while she was asleep. Because that can't happen. Acker turns to her and is like, girl, were you just gonna let that happen? He's like, you were almost just assassinated and you were laying there. Like she did not react. She was just like, huh, knife to my throat. And Acker's like, girl, get up, literally. And she's honestly like, maybe? She's so tired. She was like, meh, could have let it happen. He turns to walk away. And of course, she thinks she's in a dream, so she has no dignity. She's like, no, please stay. And because this is a good dream, he crawls into bed and cuddles her, and they fall back asleep. So yeah, as we know, Acker was just like projecting himself there. And that was like the first good night's sleep both of them had in a really long time. And the next day he's distracted at his council meetings because he can only think about Jovie asking him to stay. But now Acker is wondering if he's dreaming because he's in this council meeting. He's talking to his father, and his dad is saying whack ass shit like, I'm proud of you, son. And he's like, me? And his dad is like, you've been doing really well with this war stuff. No, he hasn't. I want to introduce you to a friend. And Acker immediately is like, whoever it is stinky. Because I just got to read this. Okay. Acker says, the scent hits me first. That strange aroma that anyone who has lived in Alaha carries with them, like the metal in their veins is rusting. But apparently Jovie never smelled like that. Jovie has always smelled intoxicating and wonderful. We've never heard about like stinky people smell until now. Apparently everyone else in Alaha stinks. Who walks in? Who is the stinky bastard? Ren. What's he doing here? His people, Alaha, remember, are attacking Kenta. So why is Ren and King Edmund, why are they hanging out in the same room? Something's up. King Edmund to Acker is like, son, I'm sure you have many questions. And me, yes, I do. I do have many questions. But Acker is like, no. He's like, I actually really don't want to know. So, and he's like, besides, I can guess. I'm guessing that the Queen of Melee made a secret back deal with Royson and they're going to turn on Alaha. So now Alaha is coming to us so that we can join forces and fuck up Royson. And besides, you two are fucking psychopaths and only care about power. So you are a match made in heaven. I'm surprised you haven't allied before. He doesn't say that last part out loud, but okay. But basically, yeah. Alaha is going to pretend that they don't know about the betrayal of Royson. But when the time comes, Alaha and Kenta will join forces and go after Royson. The thing about this is like, we have no background for the countries. We actually don't give a shit about the other countries at this point. We don't have any POVs from what's going on there. I have absolutely no dog in this fight. I do not care. I don't really know. Alaha, Kenta is shitty. Melee, we're just vaguely told is a utopia. Strow, we don't know anything about Strow except that there's one person there from there named Bruh. Why would I root for anyone? I'm just rooting for the war to end, and I don't care who wins, right? So, but we have one more surprise. Acker is like, Ren, you're dismissed. Sit down, son. We've got to have a talk. The king has discovered a nifty little trick. Basically, you know how there is Hearthstone that you can stab someone and get rid of their magic? There's something called a slate stone where you can stab the person and steal their gift, transfer their magic. So everyone is born with just one gift, or like
an umbrella of a gift, or something. Like apparently Jovie, like the light wielder, can also wield other things.
Like genuinely, I don't know how the magic works. So as I've said, I can't help you. But apparently he is stealing gifts from every magical person he comes across. So he used to have just fire, and now he can have an endless amount of things. Okay. As his dad is explaining this and how this is like a really great tool that they're going to use, this is the final straw. Acker's final straw. He's like, I have been waiting for this moment. The moment I knew there's nothing redeemable about my father. Okay, so executing a child, putting people in cages, putting people in collars to suppress their magic, killing people for marrying outside of their magic, whatever, that like passed. Iffy, but like, yeah, you know, king shit. You're stealing other people's magical powers? Daddy, no! This boy is dumber than a box of rocks. Genuinely. Like, even if we chalked this up to like, oh, daddy issues, he just wanted to be loved. Like, this man is in his 30s, I think. What is it about this that was the turning point? And this is a piece of the puzzle in terms of why is Alaha allying with us? Because the people of Alaha don't have magic. And so if they ally with Kenta, Kenta has promised them magic. But how can they give magic to the people of Alaha? They're gonna like round up every magical person, drain them of their magic, and somehow give it to the people of Alaha. Questions I have. Number one, can't Alaha people just touch the ground? Can't they just touch dirt? And some of them might have magic. We don't know. So there's that scenario. And also like, Kenta, why would you give up all? It just, none of it makes sense. With this new knowledge, Acker is like, I have to take action. I can't sit back and let my dad commit another genocide. Let me go talk to the librarian. Remember Greta, his dad's wife, now ex-wife, Bo's mother. She is an oracle. She can see the future. And he goes to be like, Greta, what's your take on this? How's it looking? She takes off her collar so that she can have a proper vision. And she basically just sees a ton of dead bodies. And she's like, I also see snow on the ground, so probably winter. It is now autumn. I feel like that was her valiant attempt, I will say, in trying to introduce the concept of time to her story, because remember, in the previous book, we would skip months, we would skip weeks, we would have no idea how much time passed between one page and the next. In this, she at least attempts to tell us that snow is coming. She does this for quite a while. She's like, it's not quite snowing yet. Then like the next chapter begins with, ooh, almost snowing. Like we're creeping towards winter. She tries. So yeah, there's gonna be the end of the war and a lot of death come winter. And as things fall apart in Kenta, we head back to Melee to check on Jovie. So she has finally been convinced that she needs to go home, right? She attempted that weird battle thing that maybe worked. We actually don't ever really find out what that whole action sequence did, other than get her a scratch on her face, but she does go home. And you know how she always used to say, dang rabbits? The guard, General Sam, said dang rabbits. So you know it's like some kind of Melee thing. We finally get an answer about the dang rabbits. Her mom wants to be like a cool queen, like a normal lady. So she doesn't live in the palace. She lives in like a modest but nice home. So Jovie tries to get in the house unannounced, right? She like hasn't told her mom she's coming home. And the garden is filled with essentially guard dogs, but instead of guard dogs, they're rabbits. They're like these evil flesh-eating rabbits. So there you go. Frederick is like, oh, okay, I'm gonna leave you at the gate. I think you're safe with your mom. I'm gonna go. Good luck, girl. And the only thing I can say is drink the tea. And he leaves. We get a really quick scene introducing the mom. The mom loves her, sweeps her up into this big hug. She's like, oh my God, my baby's home. I'm so grateful, whatever. Her name is Evelyn, by the way. And she's like, you look rough. Why don't you go to bed? I'll have one of the girls send up some tea. We'll talk in the morning. Before she can get into bed, though, she does have a run-in with Bo. And Bo is basically like, you smell really bad. I will also talk to you tomorrow because you need a bath. And I don't deal with stinky people. Runs in the family, apparently. Her and Acker have very sensitive noses, okay? As she is bathing, she starts to feel an Acker vision coming on. And that's when she remembers what Frederick said about the tea. So she just chugs it. And it's like super NyQuil. So she is knocked out and clean. I think she gets out of the bathtub. That was my main concern. It's like, is she gonna drown in the bathtub for a second time? No. She is safe in her bed, sleeping a deep sleep. And we are at 25%. This is 100 pages into this book. Ow. This is 100 pages into this book. It's giving nothing.
I might not go back in. I'm gonna go home, actually.
Okay, 25%. It has been maybe a week since Jovie has arrived back in her mom's home. Her mom not only wants to be like a normie who lives in a small house, she also loves to bake. Okay, this is a queen in the kitchen. Just bakes bread for everybody. She's always covered in flour. That's Evelyn. Bo and Jovie are going to a tavern for like a small casual military meeting in order to meet this new captain that they just hired or recruited named Drake. And Evelyn is like, oh my God, is Messer gonna be there? Fucking love Messer. Give him some cookies. She like always has his favorite cookies on hand. Everyone is charmed by Messer. Bo immediately isn't having a good time. She's like, you invited that freak? And it's just Frederick. He like appears from the shadows. Apparently, I think it's because of his power. He has a shield power. He doesn't have an aura. And remember, Bo's power is that she can read auras for a magic system that like allegedly is linked to elements, right? Like light, metal, fire, etc. No one else has like element magic. Everyone else has like, I would say, a lot cooler magic than our two main characters, but whatever. So yeah, Bo can see auras and Frederick doesn't have one. So she's like, ew, why is he always around? He gives me the creeps. Also just like a minus point in terms of how cool he is. He immediately comes up and like takes one of Messer's cookies. Jovie is like carrying the Tupperware of cookies and he just grabs one and Bo is like, not for you. Back off. We take our seats. Messer arrives. He is like Bo, looking delectable as always. Bo calls him a pigeon, which is funny. Messer turns to Frederick and is like, ooh, you're inside now? You're usually a little freak up on the roof. And Frederick is like, it's a better vantage point up there. And Messer is like, yeah, you're still a freak on the roof. Drake gets here. Messer is counting heads. He's like, okay, who else are we waiting for? And Drake is like, oh, we're waiting on General Sam. Sam appears and Drake is like, oh my God, you should come with a warning. Like, gah. Please note also that General Sam, even though he has the powers of teleportation, he is always late, always the last one to arrive.
Everyone's asking my ETA. Everyone has to get off my ass.
Messer and Sam start fighting because Messer is like, yeah, why are you always late? And they just like bicker.
No one needs to know if I'm on my way. Calm the F down and focus on you.
And Bo just turns to Jovie and is like, please get me drunk. I cannot deal with these men sober. The meeting finally starts and we basically just learn everything that Acker has learned. We have some spy in Kenta and with Alaha, we have Kai allegedly on our side. So we just relearn everything that we just went over with like Alaha is working with Kenta and Acker, blah, 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 blah. So that's annoying to reread. We also learned that Kai has been acting weird. He is unpredictable. He kind of just does what he wants when he wants. Not that he was really present in the first book in terms of like letting us know what his plan was. So I don't know how this is a really big change. Apparently it's concerning. Kai is apparently still pretty pissed that Jovie got matched with someone else because remember they were gonna get married. They've been like crushing since they were little. He's kind of not over that, which like, okay, but he's apparently being at least professional about it. He's giving them the information that they need. Meeting adjourned. We get this weird ass scene where Frederick is like, I'm gonna walk Jovie home because he's her bodyguard. And Messer is just being a weirdo and he's basically like, are you trying to court my best friend? Like, are you coming on to her? And in her head, Jovie's like, oh my God, that would be kind of cute if I had like a bodyguard romance. And Frederick is like, no, definitely not. Not trying to court her. And Jovie's like, oh, a little sad about it. But the guys keep pushing and Frederick is like, I am not interested in courting someone who is matched. Can you guys leave me alone? And Drake is like, I wouldn't have a problem courting a matched woman. Everyone is just like,
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. Look, it's no secret.
Hi.
Hello?
and Jovie is basically like, ew. Messer's gonna walk me home. I've got some things to talk about. He can protect me. Frederick, you're excused. Go walk it off, okay? And we get a little heart to heart because remember, Jovie and Messer have been friends for a long time. Even though he refuses to call her by her real name, she is still B or Bryn. We talk about our love lives, and this is when we learn what Jovie saw through the bond. Remember how she was like, won't make that mistake again. Like, I'm not looking through Acker's eyes. Yeah, because she transported into Acker's head during the wedding night. So he was like consummating the marriage with Irina and Bryn had to watch. So she's like, yeah, we're not doing that one again. And Messer is like, girl, I know how you feel, kind of, because Kai got married. Who did he marry? The only other female character we have in this book from Alaha, Aurora.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. Why the hell is she still alive?
She is literally a character that can just be morphed into whatever we need her to be instead of just like writing another character, which would make sense. Yeah, apparently Messer loved Aurora. He thinks Aurora is his match, but he needed to play it cool because his father was an abusive, evil man. And he knew that like if he showed that he liked Aurora, his dad would do anything to fuck it up and make him marry somebody else. So when he got matched with Aurora, he was so secretly excited about it. But then after the whole kerfuffle with Acker and Jovie being kidnapped and blah, 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 they never actually got married. And so when Kai went back to Alaha, he married Aurora for reasons unknown. Anyway, so Messer's very cut up about this, that his girl has also been married off. So we've just got two heartbroken little pups. But let's check out our other heartbroken little pup. What's Acker doing? Acker is bringing Wells and Olivia to Maylee. He goes to check on Wells and Wells is like, don't try to stop me, man. He's like packing up his blacksmith stuff. He's like, don't even try. I'm getting on a boat. Apparently he is going with Olivia to his parents' house and Acker's like, man, I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to get you to an even better place because Kenta isn't safe. No part of Kenta is safe. And he's like, listen, I'm going to go talk to Evelyn. I'm going to go beg at the Queen of Maylee's feet to basically undo this war that could have been undone 4 years ago if I had just agreed to let my father bleed out on the ballroom floor. I'm gonna go talk to her. I want to bring you guys, especially because we will learn more about this later, but Jovie and Olivia are still in contact. They're still friends, okay? So he's like, listen, if I show up by myself, who knows how that's gonna look. But if I bring some buddies that Jovie likes, maybe it'll smooth it over. So, and Maylee is just so far the safest place to be right now on Earth. Like, yes, you're gonna get on a boat, but you're gonna get on a boat with me. And Wells immediately sees the logic in this plan. He's like, yeah, I want to get the fuck out of Kenta. This sounds great, wonderful. Let's go grab my wife. He jumps in the carriage, and when he opens the door, he's like, ew.
Oh my God, you guys are here.
How did you get?
Because Irina is in the carriage. Nobody has warmed up to Irina. Bless her soul. Of course she wants to go home. Why is Irina here? We need her because she is an illusionist. Once again, more magic that we've never fucking heard of. She's an illusionist, and so she is going to make it seem like their Kenta boat is actually a Maylee boat, and so they're gonna get like safe passage. And afterwards, who the fuck knows, right? We're just hoping that Jovie loves Wells and Olivia enough to like not kill them on sight. Another great plan from our Prince Acker, except he didn't realize how pregnant Olivia is. Olivia is the particular brand of pregnant where she is a little, how you say, prickly. She's pissed about everything and she's already pissed at Acker. She was pissed at Acker before the war even started because she, remember, had to give up her like royal seat to marry Wells because even though they were matched and they're so in love, they were like a different class, different magic, whatever. So she has always been like, Acker, buddy, you have the power to talk to your dad about this bullshit discrimination that's going on in our kingdom, and he's never done it. And so Olivia has hated him for that, and then he makes a stupid ass decision that started a war, and now Acker has thrown her onto a boat while she's heavily pregnant. And she's just like, why am I still including you in my friends list? Like, what have you done for me, sir? Apparently she is wielding her condition like a weapon. So basically anytime, even if she's kind of like in the wrong, Olivia is like, oh, you're yelling at a pregnant woman? The gall, okay? So she is untouchable. And when she's not yelling at him, she's giving Acker the silent treatment. And Wells is 10 toes down, 120% on Olivia's side. And so he can't be seen with the enemy, like fraternizing with the enemy. So he and Acker, if they ever want to talk, they have to talk like in the dead of night when she's asleep. Like he also gives Acker the silent treatment because he is not going to go against his scary pregnant wife. Okay, so the journey is not smooth. And then we get this teeny tiny scene just to like let us know that during the wedding night that Jovie was there for, Acker knew that she was there and so like tried to make her jealous and like whatever, but he ended up like breaking down and crying. Second time Acker has cried during sex, I will say. And I don't even think he like finished the deed, but even if he did, he has not touched Irina since, just so you know. It takes them 2 weeks to make the crossing to Melee. This entire time, Irina has been using her power to shield them, right? To like make them look like a Melee ship. And Olivia has been really snippy towards the boys, right? Always yelling at them. So at one point, Irina is like, girl, like, please shut up. Like, I need to concentrate. Olivia didn't like that. And eventually, Irina is just like so tired that her powers falter. And lucky for them, they falter right as they are pulling up to shore. Luckily, the gang has enough time to get in a little rowboat and like zippity-doo-dah the other way, while Melee soldiers immediately descend on their ship. Irina has just enough power to make them invisible, but once again, it like sputters out and the soldiers that are looking at their ship see them on the shore, grab them, and they are taken prisoner. Now we're in Jovie's POV. She is in the training ring fighting Messer, but she's low-key trying to kill him because apparently he thought it would be funny to tell Drake that Jovie would be up for like a little fun, a little booty call. So Drake like showed up at her front door and was like, hi, I am here for the booty call. And Jovie is like, oh, okay. She is out for blood. She's like, as she's trying to stab Messer, she's like, I'm not angry with you. And Messer is like, of course you aren't. That would be ridiculous because I didn't do anything wrong. He's like, girl, you need to blow off steam. Drake is hot. He's willing, but no. But their little fight is interrupted because a carriage is coming up the road from the coast. And Jovie looks and she's like, oh, I really hope that's wrong, that feeling in my gut. But she is sure she knows at least one person who is in that carriage. The first thing Jovie does is turn to Messer and be like, do not antagonize this man. Do not fuck around. And Messer is like, me?
Don't say anything. I see it. Don't say anything. I know.
And then you gonna come in sucking your fingers. You got chicken wings. You're supposed to be asking questions.
That's when she turns to see who's getting out of the carriage. The first people out, Olivia and Wells, who she's happy to see. Then Irina gets out and she's like, I'm not even gonna touch that. And then her eyes meet a pair of darker ones, as potent as they've always been. Enticing, powerful, intoxicating. And I think I'm in just as much trouble as I was when he arrived in Alaha all those years ago. So Jovie is quaking in her boots, but from Acker's POV, this is a stone cold ice queen. Okay, she looks not affected. Acker can't help but notice how much the soldiers around her seem to respect her and really admire her. And he says, I've always found her beautiful, but now she's something else, something more. And then Jovie makes him kneel and quote, fuck me if I'm not struggling to stave off an erection. Jovie is like, I'm going to talk to Olivia and Wells, the only people I'm happy to see. So she pulls off to the side. And she has been exchanging letters with Olivia this whole time. So she knows about the baby. She's really excited. She's like, oh my God, this is great. I'm so happy you're here. What the fuck are they doing here? She literally turns to Irina and is like, what are you doing here? Acker tries to answer for her, and Jovie is immediately like, wasn't talking to you. Irina is basically like, all I know is that we're here to talk to the queen, and I follow my husband because I have no free will. I have no agency in this book. Thank you very much. Even though my powers seem to be stronger than my husband's, because all he can do is like call metal. This is when Acker reveals the whole alliance scheme. He's like, really want to talk to your mom about this alliance. Like, we're ready to make this all right. And there's a moment where Acker sees that ice in her eyes thaw, and he's like, oh, breakthrough. This is great. And then she's just like, no, actually, no, thank you. Thank you for coming. You guys can stay here for a tiny bit to like rest and recover, but you are getting back on that boat to Kenta. She's like, Olivia can stay because unlike you, I'm not putting a pregnant woman on a boat, but the rest of you, bye. And Acker is like not taking no for an answer. He's like, if you let me talk to the queen, just let me talk to Queen Evelyn. I'm sure she can see the light. And Jovie just laughs and she's like, yeah, funny story. My mom isn't queen anymore. She gave up her throne and gave it to who? Her princess, Jovie. Jovie is queen of Melee. She has been for like a year. So she's like, you're talking to the queen, and the queen says no. So what are we gonna do?
I want to talk to the manager. Okay, 1 second. Hi, how can I help you? What the fuck?
They turn to walk away, and Olivia is like, open your wallet, dear husband. Apparently they had a bet on whether or not Jovie would like wound Acker, and Olivia bet yes. And Wells is like, no, she didn't hurt him. And Frederick, who is still lingering, is like, that honestly looked like it hurt to me. He says, pay the woman what she's owed. And even Acker can't help but grin because, quote, who needs pride anyway? And the fact that Acker is smiling is just proof that he still can't read the room, because he has like underestimated how pissed Jovie is, because she's not only pissed just to see him because of their messy history, but she's pissed because number one, he didn't come for her. He came for their army. He wasn't like, Jovie, I love you, I want you back. He was like, Jovie, I need an army to help me. Okay, so strike one. And then strike two, he brought his wife. And Jovie is like, So she's pissed. She runs into Bo, and Bo is like, how are you doing, girl? And Jovie is like, why do you ask when you can literally see my aura? She's so mad. And Bo is like, trying to be polite. I don't know, kind of weird to like read people without their permission. And Bo is like, so whatever, but just to let you know, like according to that aura that I can see, it really doesn't seem like you hate him as much as you think you do. Jovie tries her best to go to sleep. She is like wrapping herself in the stones so that Acker can't like get into her mind anymore, because the closer they are, the worse it's getting, right? So immediately when he got out of the carriage, she was getting like weird visions of like memories of them being intimate, pictures of her in her bedroom, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, wait a damn minute. Me in my bedroom. The bedroom in Melee that he's never seen. How could he envision this? That's when she realizes the creep has been spying on her. And Jovie's reaction is, instead of being like, oh, how sweet, he watches me sleep, he must love me, she sharpens her dagger. She is like, Acker and I are going to be having a talk tomorrow. But right now we're having a little sibling reunion. Bo goes to talk to Acker. They have put everybody in these like little cottages. Okay, so Irina and Acker are in this little cottage. Bo comes a knocking. Acker opens the door. She's like, let's take a walk. Where does she take him? To class. Apparently Bo is now like a teacher. She takes him to this amphitheater filled with children and like teaches a class. He like goes and sits in the back. She's trying to show him how great Melee is. And like apparently Bo likes kids because they have the best auras. But yeah, basically they don't discriminate, and the queen spends her whole day baking. Apparently every single citizen or every single household in Melee gets a loaf of bread baked by the queen every year, like one loaf for each household. She's like, utopia, this could be us. They have a quick conversation of like, that really sucks that you betrayed me. And Bo is like, yeah, well, you were brainwashed by daddy, so that's like the only thing I could do, blah, blah, blah. And Bo is like, and by the way, like, really, bud, just go home. Like, I've spent these past 4 years with Jovie. She's not going to change her mind. She's not going to help you. So give up. And Acker is like, does she draw anymore? And Bo is like, no. And that is the worst news Bo has given me today. Because remember, Jovie's one character trait is that she like draws, and apparently the only time her mind is ever like calm and relaxed is when she draws. And so Acker is like, oh no, she doesn't draw anymore. We're also back in the writing style where time doesn't exist. So this could be later in the day. This could be what I assume to be nighttime. This could have been yesterday. I'm not sure. But if Jovie isn't going to come talk to Acker, Acker's going to go to Jovie. And so he just appears in her bedroom. And Jovie at this point, because remember, she's figured out that he's been doing this, she's not fazed. She's like, how long have you been doing this? And he's like, I think you know. No, she doesn't. That's why she's asking. I don't even want to tell you what happens in this scene. Strap in, guys. Here we go. They are fighting when there's a knock on the door, and Jovie knows who it is, because remember how Drake came for a booty call once and she was like, I did not call for a booty, so please leave. She has decided, you know what? Fuck it. Now that Acker's here and she's feeling all frustrated, she is like, I could, in fact, blow off some steam with a hot young captain. So yeah, Drake, come on in. She pushes Acker out of her head, opens the door. It's not Drake. It's not Drake. It's Frederick. She is like, Freddie, you aren't Drake. And Frederick is like, yes, I know. I didn't want Drake to die, so I came in his stead. He's basically like, you are trying to hook up with Drake when your match is like down the road. You genuinely want to kill one of our best captains in the army. Acker would not stand for that. So yeah, I'm here. Can I help you? He's like, stop being so messy. Get your head in the game, Queen Jovie. And Jovie is so frustrated. She's like, God, I can't even have a cute little hookup. So she just like flings off her robe. She's just standing there in the doorway naked in front of Frederick. To his credit, apparently, quote, his eyes dip to her body only briefly, but the glance is intense enough to heat straight through the sheer slip I'm wearing. Okay, so she's wearing a sheer slip. She's not naked. And remember, he is here to be like, Jovie, you dumbass. The next guy who comes into your bed is a dead man. He switches his tune real fast. He is like, I will be that man. I will be that man. He's basically like, I'm your bodyguard and I'm under your command. So if there's any way I can help you, say the word. He's like undoing the buttons of his shirt. He's like, if there's a service you need, he goes down on her immediately.
You said this wasn't a date.
It's not.
Feels like a date.
He apparently has wanted this for a very long time. He was just kidding. Like the only thing holding him back from her was like, she's matched. And he's basically like, I'm prepared to die. So fuck this whole match thing, right? So he is enthusiastically going at it. Jovie's pumped. She's feeling amazing. She's finally out of her head. She's like, this is exactly what I needed. Why wasn't I doing this for 4 years? When it all goes wrong because Jovie isn't concentrating enough. So who pops in but Acker? Acker's back. Oh no. She gasps. And Frederick takes that as positive feedback. He's not looking at her, okay? He's otherwise occupied. So he just continues, having a great time. And for a heartbeat, Acker is frozen in place. Jovie tries to say Frederick's name as a warning, like, Frederick. But apparently it comes out breathier than intended. And again, he is like taking it as positive feedback. He's like, I'm doing great. And he just keeps going. Acker's expression falters for a second. And then a wave of outrage floods his features. She's seated on the desk, Frederick's between her legs, and she's just looking at Acker like, I mean, she now says Frederick's name with enough power that he looks up, but it's too late. Luckily, Frederick has shielding power, so he's protected, but Acker is like banging on his shield, screaming at him like, bah, 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 bah. I can't even picture that. It just like visually looks so stupid to me, but yeah, Frederick is like saved, thank God. And remember, only Jovie can see Acker. So Frederick is like, you good, girl? And then Acker like picks up Frederick's sword and tries to throw it at him. Again, it doesn't do anything, but Frederick kind of like puts together what's going on. And he gets this like shit-eating, cocky grin on his face. Actually, it is a smirk stretching across Frederick's glistening mouth. And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say stop, right? And he just goes at it again, dives right back in. So Acker turns to Jovie and is like, is this payback for my wedding night? Like, what the hell? And then as soon as he says it, he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. I kind of can't be mad because I did the same thing. So, why don't I enjoy this? None of these characters have like an emotion that lasts for more than a minute. They are constantly switching gears. So anyway, all of a sudden he's not looking at her with disdain or resentment, but with restraint and maybe even a little admiration. Like he can't help but appreciate the sight of me in the throes of pleasure, regardless of where it's coming from. And Acker is very happy to watch. So he just starts talking to her. He's like, how have you been? How are you doing? Meanwhile, Frederick, unawares, having a great time. And then in an instant, he's kissing her. And Frederick, remember, can't see Acker. So if he had looked up for a second, he would see Jovie making out with nothing. Like, this is just so stupid. Like, if you actually just take a second to picture how this scene is playing out, it's just so stupid. Frederick finishes the job well done. The whole time Acker and Jovie have been making out, by the way. So Acker finally pulls away and he was like, how was that? Did you have fun, babe? And just so you know, that's never happening again. No other man is ever touching you. You hear me? And then he like disappears. Frederick has like figured out what's going on. Okay. So he gets up and he was like, that was great, queen. Pleasure to be of service. And he leaves, not before saying that he hoped that Jovie's match had as much fun as he did. And then he's gone. The next day, or not, I don't know. Days later, we don't know. It is the day that Irina and Acker are supposed to be sent back to Kenta. But before they get on that ship, Jovie needs to have a face-to-face conversation with Acker. More than that, she needs to show him something. So she shows up at the cottage and she's like, come with me. We have a really big plot thread that I have not tied up that I need to. So off they trot. This, oh my God, this pisses me off so much. We needed to tie up a loose thread somewhere and now is the time. Oh, this just makes me so, okay, calm down. Anyway, so you know how Acker can obviously be like a ghost and like teleport to wherever she is and be invisible to other people? She's like, I need you to come with me, but I need you to be invisible. Questions I have, where is his body when he goes into his invisible state? We know from the previous book, the one time they had weird ghost sex, she almost drowned in a bathtub because she teleported. She like became a ghost while she was in the bath. Like, does Acker just drop his body, his physical body somewhere? I feel like that's not a smart thing to do because they left the Anyway, whatever. Don't ask questions. Off we go. What is this errand? We head to a different cottage. We stroll through like this beautiful forest and then we end up at another cottage. Knock, knock, knock. Who is there? Fucking Grenadine, the grouchy ass neighbor from Alaha, the one who was like, your fucking bird is so loud and blah, 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 blah. Grouchy, not nice woman, who we found out randomly is Acker's birth mother, who he thinks is dead. And remember, she didn't tell Acker about this. She learned it and then she was like, oh my God, I'm gonna tell Acker, and then teleports to him and she overheard like a different conversation. So she was like, ew, never mind, and like left. So Acker still thinks his mommy's dead. Okay. Grenadine opens the door. Jovie is like, hey girl, so I'm sure you've heard, but your son is here. And she can hear Acker like, apparently Grenadine's real name is Cadence. So Cadence isn't interested in seeing Acker. She's sort of like, yeah, I heard. Okay. Jovie is trying to get her to reconsider and like maybe talk to Acker. So she's like, can I come in? Can I have a cup of tea? And Cadence is like, ugh, sure. Come on in. As she turns and leads them to the kitchen, Acker is whispering to Jovie. He's like, have you always known? How long have you known? And Jovie's just like, because remember, she can't talk. She'd be talking out loud to herself. So Jovie's just like, Jovie is like, so your son is leaving in an hour? And I think that, quote, I think he should know the full scope of what his father is capable of before he returns to Kenta. Like, don't you want to warn him? And Cadence has always been like a little cocky, a little rude, not nice lady. But for a moment, she softens for a moment because she's like, how am I supposed to tell him that like I saved myself? Like I left and like left him with his crazy ass dad because I needed to save my life and I didn't take him with me, you know? And so you know that whole like stealing magic thing that we've learned that his dad can do? Yeah, he's been doing that to his mom for like ever since they got married. He was siphoning magic from her. He would like bleed her almost to death and like just do that over and over and over again. Okay, so she got the fuck out. Apparently she stole it. She stole the stone and she threw it into the deepest parts of the ocean. I don't know what is up with these women and throwing things in the ocean, but there we have it. And then she says, if you want me to tell my son all of this, I want you to tell him the real reason your mother handed you the crown. Because apparently Jovie made some kind of agreement with Royson in exchange for sparing Acker's life. And that's when Jovie realizes, Cadence knows Acker's here. Like, even though she can't see him, she's like, well, if you want me to spill secrets, why don't you talk about your own too? Or do you feel like someone's listening? Okay, Grenadine / Cadence is smart. So then Cadence just starts talking directly to Acker. She's like, I'm really sorry, son. I didn't want you to see me like this or like learn about it like this. Jovie has no tact. And she asks Jovie to leave so that she can talk to her son. Unclear if she can hear him or not because he's in his invisible ghost state. So like, how are they supposed to have a conversation if she can't hear him or see him? Like, she can talk at him, but okay, whatever. Long story short, Jovie leaves and leaves Acker with his mom in the cottage. And folks, I'm sorry to tell you, this is where things get even more stupid. I want you to ask yourself, what has Jovie done during this entire book? Okay, so Jovie goes back to her room for a nap because she doesn't want to be there when Acker and Irina leave because they're getting ready for the boat. So she's laying down and she feels Acker's presence. Apparently his mom told him all about how Jovie negotiated for Acker's life, basically like nobody's allowed to kill him. Actually, we don't really know. We don't really get specifics about this negotiation, but basically she saved his life. And Acker's like, I need you to stop pretending that you don't like me because this isn't the actions of somebody who doesn't love the other person. Like, can we stop dancing around this? And he's like crawling onto her bed. He's like, love me back, Jovie. Love me back.
Love you. I love you. Bitch, I love you too. Write it down.
And just when you think it's about to be steamy, there's a knock at the door. And who is it but fucking Frederick? And before you get excited, we're not having a repeat of what's happening. He's acting really weird, actually. He's sort of like, hey, Queen Jovie, so I really want you to know that I really respect you as a leader. And last night was really fun and blah, blah. And as he's talking to her, he's like backing her up until eventually they're out on her balcony. And she's like leaning on the like railing of the balcony being like, Frederick, what's going on? There is neither hostility nor heat in his eyes. If anything, he appears apologetic. He starts undoing his shirt again, and Jovie at first is like, not in the mood right now. But then her blood runs cold because she sees a little scar on his chest, a scar that only 5 people have, a scar that Acker and all of his buddies from military have, okay? Why didn't she see it the night before? I don't know. She tries to scream when Frederick grabs her, shoves a cloth over her nose and mouth, and the bittersweet scent of a fungi we use to ease the passing of the mortally wounded after battle fills my lungs. It's a lot of information. And the sky above her fades to black. She was chloroformed. And if you're thinking like, wow, no, Carrie, actually right now it sounds exciting. Finally, some action. Let me tell you what happens in the next chapter. All right, we're in Acker's POV. We're on the fucking boat. We've made it to the boat. Okay, we're going back to Kenta. Apparently, Jovie did offer to let Irina go back to Strow, but Acker didn't tell her that. Acker was just like, Irina, I'm sorry, you gotta come back to Kenta, okay? Because as you will find, he loves keeping his women hostage. That's his kink. Okay, so Irina is coming back to Kenta with them, ignorant to the fact that she was just granted her freedom. And if you're wondering, why isn't Acker staying to fight for Jovie? He knows that she loves him. Because she's on the fucking ship too. She got drugged and put on the ship because Frederick is a plant. Frederick is a spy, and he has been apparently infiltrating Maylee's military since like forever. Like even before they found Jovie, he like worked his way through the ranks. Once she came back to Maylee, that was like his number one thing, was like, I have to become her bodyguard. And why are they doing this? They want Maylee to join the party because Maylee has just been sitting during this war playing defense. They've just been staying at home, protecting their borders. He wants them to join the war. He wants them to start sending their army to other places, even if it's Kenta. He just wants Maylee to get in the game, and they're gonna come after their queen. Jovie has woken up. At this point, she is screaming, she is flailing, she is hurting herself. And Acker is like, this is actually so funny because I used to joke about hogtying her. And now she's literally hogtied. Isn't that hilarious? However, there is a, quote, deranged part of himself that is bothered by the fact that Frederick was the one who actually got to hogtie her. Frederick also says something about the fact that, like, he went down on Acker's match, and Acker punches him soundly in the face. And Frederick is like, okay, now that we got that out of the way, and Acker realizes like Frederick put down his shield to let Acker punch him, because if his shield had been up, Acker would have broken his hand. Frederick is basically like, you needed to punch me, man. I know, you needed to punch me. He's basically like, I hope you got that out of your system. Now stop being a baby and figure out how we're gonna win this war. And how are we gonna win this war? God only knows. We are at 50%.
I might not go back in. I'm gonna go home, actually.
Okay, I took a minute, I took a walk. 50%, we're in Jovie's POV. She is like, I've been fucking kidnapped again? Acker comes in where Jovie is chained up. And remember, she is like flailing, she has injured herself, and Acker's having a really hard time because remember his whole blood oath, how he's like not allowed to hurt her, or he has to protect her until his dying breath. Protect her, he is not, okay? She's chained up, and and he's sort of like, why are you yelling at me? I already feel bad enough. Like, can we move on from this and let me tell you the plan? Jovie is like, there's no plan where this is gonna work, you idiot. Like, my mom is gonna come and kill you. And Acker is like, no, your mom, the super nice lady who bakes and has guard rabbits, she wouldn't kill your match. And Jovie is like, really? Because that didn't stop her from killing her own match. Excuse me? So here's the lore, something that Jovie learned in these past 4 years. Apparently, her dad was Osiris of Royson. Remember way back when Osiris said, I'm the one who took Jovie and her mom killed him and this started the whole war? Yeah, that wasn't a lie. Okay, we thought like, oh, maybe it was Ren's persuasion. No, it was the truth. Because, and this doesn't make sense to me, because Osiris knew that Acker's dad was stealing powers. He like already somehow figured this out. So why is this like a surprise to everybody else if Acker's dad has been like semi-publicly doing this for decades? Unclear. But anyway, Osiris saw that his daughter, Jovie, was displaying signs of light wielder magic, of like insane amounts of power. And that freaked him out. So he was like, I'm going to take her to Alaha where she can't use her magic and she can hide away and nobody's going to steal her light wielder power from her. He didn't discuss this with mommy. Okay, he just took Jovie in the middle of the night, brought her to Alaha where she would hopefully be safe. When Evelyn found this out, she killed Osiris. She killed her match. So Jovie's like, yeah, I don't think you being my match is gonna stop anything. So she's not only the princess or queen of Melee, but she technically can claim the throne of Royson, which I feel like could be a really interesting thread to follow, but it's never followed. And Acker's like, but Greta told me that your mom fell in love with her bodyguard. And Jovie's like, oh, Leo, yeah, that's a story for another day. Which, why the fuck is it a story for another day? That's the story I want. I said that when I was reading Metal Slinger. I'm interested in that story, but no. Jovie's basically just like, your days are numbered, man. My mom is gonna bring the entire Melee army to Kenta. And Acker is like, fabulous. She's welcome. That's actually exactly what I wanted. And so as they're heading to the palace, Jovie is just sitting there, still chained up, by the way. And she's just like, this is such bullshit. Like, why do I fall? Like, Kai and Acker, why am I falling for guys that betray me? Specifically with Acker, she's like, why do I love this guy when all we've done is betray each other? He got married, he made me watch his wedding night, I hooked up with his soldier friend, he watched, and we have been, quote, spiteful and petty and vengeful. Things are beyond twisted. And you know what? These are my notes. Worse than twisted, this book is boring. And like, I thought maybe I was alone in this, right? So many reviews, so many other people are agreeing that this book is just so boring because we're not using any magic. We don't give a shit about the actual war, and we aren't even really seeing the war. We're just like talking about it. None of the fun characters are around. Bring back Bo, bring back Messer. Where is Messer? He apparently is having trouble finding us because of Frederick's shield, or at least that's what we assume. And also Irina is still put to work doing her illusion shit because Acker just uses and chains up the women that he likes. So we're just stuck with these boring ass people, all of which hate each other and refuse to talk to each other now. They also like never finish a conversation and they just leer at each other. Multiple pages of this book are like, Irina looks at Jovie and sneers, and Jovie looks at blah, blah, blah. It's just a lot of like silence and being uncomfy, and it's boring. Then we get a classic scene wherever they end up staying overnight, and we get a classic scene of Jovie sneaking into Acker's room to try and kill him, and he wakes up and they fight and they struggle and it becomes a makeout session, and Jovie has a good night's sleep, and such good sleep that she doesn't come down to talk to people until lunchtime. They're in like an inn or a tavern or whatever. She sits down at the table and they are discussing how like this just isn't working out. Carrie's getting annoyed at us. We need to work as a team and actually talk to each other. And that begins with trust. Acker is like, I would love to share a lot of secrets and information that I have with you, but I fear you guys are holding some secrets back from me. He turns to Wells because, oh, did I mention that Wells is here? You didn't notice. So Acker just turns to Wells and he's like, anything you want to share with the class here, bud? And Wells is like, how did you figure it out? Figure what out? Yeah, Acker is like, the Wells that I know would never leave his pregnant wife. And you also smell like a wet dog, Messer. Frederick is like, pardon? Yeah, Acker has sort of known the whole time, but Wells is not Wells, it is Messer in disguise. Because we don't know how the magic works, we didn't know, as the reader, that he could turn into another person. But yeah, he has been disguised as Wells this whole time. Acker's like, Wells is my best friend. Like, you had no problem on the boat instead of throwing up. Like, you were eating seafood, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. There were just like a lot of signs that he was like, yeah, you didn't do too well, buddy. All right. And Messer is sort of like, well, you caught me. Now you know my secret. Let us know your, like, cards on the table, buddy. What's the plan? And Acker just kind of sits there for a little bit, and Messer is like, do not tell me I had to spend a week pretending to be your bestie and you don't have a plan. Like, I followed you to get shit done. Okay, what are we doing, Acker? Do you know what his grand plan is? Acker's big plan? Yeah, he is going to just kill all the monarchs and start fresh. He's like, yeah, we're going to get rid of all the current ones, except for you, Jovie. Jovie, you can stay. But like my dad, the king of Royson, the king of Alaha, whatever. And we'll just put who we want on the throne. Oh, and if anybody stands in their way, like the council, for example, if anybody says no, they die. So with that, Messer is like, yeah, I gotta go update Kai. I need to go check on him to make sure he's not gonna do anything to mess up this loose as a goose plan. So he's about to fly off when he and Jovie have like a little heart to heart. And he's basically like, listen, I know that this is all a mess, but one thing's for damn sure, that boy loves you. He says, and I quote, kidnapping you was a tad excessive, but I kind of have to admit, he really does love you. So that's why Messer like feels safe leaving her with the man that kidnapped her. And the only thing that is making Jovie question this plan, the only reason that she's like, maybe let's not kill everybody, is because her uncle is now the king of Royson. His name is Chris or Chryse. Anyway, that is Osiris's brother. And she's sort of like, yeah, I don't know about killing family. Like, I just recently got to know him. I'm not really into like betraying my blood. And this is like a war that is wiping out nations. You have picked up dead bodies of young boys from your kingdom that have fought in your name. And you're sort of like, oh, but my uncle that I don't know. It is immense bullshit, and it gets stupider. While Messer's gone, we just get a bunch of steamy scenes that are really weird and aggressive and not hot. Like, Acker basically corners Jovie at one point and is still trying to get her to admit that she loves him, and he just like puts his hand down her pants, like demanding to admit that they're meant to be together. And even Jovie is like, this is asshole behavior. This is too much. Get away from me. But Acker is like, no. It's okay because I love you. He says, I just want you to be queen. I want everyone to bow to you like I'm planning to. And he's basically like, I'm planning to kill a lot of people, but I'm doing it for you, so it's okay. And even Jovie at this point is like, I think the whole like, I want everyone to bow to you thing is supposed to be hot, but like paired with him being really rough with her and her being like, back off, this is gross. No. Also, just listen to this sentence. A little bit later, Jovie says, ready? This is a direct quote. Bo was right in her assessment that magic doesn't like being denied. But even more than that, I think Acker hates being denied even more. Even more than that, I think Acker hates being denied even more. I'm not even going to talk about the spelling mistakes. I do not believe that this book was edited. And if it was, shame on you, honestly. And speaking of possessive asshole men, what's up with Kai? Messer returns with a message from Kai. He wants to meet face to face. Kai and Acker, they need to have a meeting. Messer pulls Acker to the side and he's like, listen, I need you to play nice because Kai really believes that Jovie is still his. So why did he get married to Aurora so quickly? Why did he have to get married at all? We don't know. But essentially, Kai was a really rebellious kid. And we know this, like him and Jovie would get up to no good all the time, right? We're aware. But Ren, Kai's father, wanted him to behave. So he was like, listen, kid, what can I do? What can I do to make you chill out and behave? And Kai was basically like, well, you could let me marry Jovie. And Ren was like, deal, you got it. And just like gives Kai Jovie. So Kai believes that Jovie is rightfully his. In terms of did he control Jovie with his magic, apparently they've known about this magic for a really long time. And Messer and Jovie used to ask him to like practice it. Like, let's see if it works. So he would practice it on them with like them as willing participants, right? And then we get to this checklist of fucking plot holes that don't, or like inconsistencies, right? So we need to clear something up. Do you remember in the beginning when we first learned about blood oaths, Kai made Acker submit to a blood oath with him that he wouldn't tell Jovie her true identity in the prison, right? He was like, you got to start asking me good questions because I can't say certain things. That blood oath. And I was like, do blood oaths fade? Do blood oaths, how long do they last, etc.? We get a dumbass answer. So apparently, in order to like use magic, we know that they need access to dirt or land, right? So apparently the dirt that Kai used to make that blood oath happen was old. So it didn't work that well. That's why it faded. And he could be like, Jovie, your name's Jovie, right? Yeah, stupid, right? I know. How come Acker didn't think that that was weird in the first book? How was he like, wow, I'm not dead. That's so interesting. Why don't the blood oaths work? Like, he didn't seem interested or confused that the blood oath stopped working in book 1. So anyway, but yeah, Kai wants to meet in person, but essentially what he's going to say is that he's willing to help with whatever crazy plan they have concocted, as long as Acker never sits on a throne. Honestly, good idea, Kai. He does not seem fit to rule a nation. And at this point, Jovie has just walked in and she has like kind of gotten caught up on the situation and she hears what Kai is proposing and she's like, oh, well, I mean, we could just like not complete the deal. She's like, yeah, we could tell him that we agree, but then like we can totally put you on the throne later. It's not a big deal. This girl is like, oh my God, I can't stop this war because I don't want to betray my uncle that I don't know. But then she's like, oh, but we can totally like lie and betray Kai again. No big deal. The inconsistencies of these characters. All right. Whatever. We have a meeting next week. So while they're just like sitting around, Jovie decides to stir up some drama. She goes to the like pigeon. They use carrier pigeons. Okay. She starts sending out letters. Number 1, she wants to tell her mom where she is, what's going on. So she sends a letter to mommy, but she also sends out a bunch of pigeons with these pamphlets. Where did she print all of these pamphlets? Unknown. But yeah, she has like a bunch of pamphlets that are like, all hail King Ren, the new king of Kenta. And she knows that these men are just narcissists. And even if they're technically in an alliance, if King Edmund feels like Ren is getting more popular than him with the Kenta people, he's going to be pissy and he's not going to want to work with Ren anymore. So she's like, just like stirring up shit, as one does. Time has passed. We are going to go meet Kai. Apparently we're meeting him on the southern coast, and this is the closest Jovie has been to the ocean in a while. I guess like a gulf doesn't count. Anyway, so she is allowed a little bit of alone time and she basically just swims for hours and hours and hours and hours and has started kind of training with her sword again, but essentially just every day she wakes up, gets in the water. When the sun sets, she gets out. She's also training her lightning power. And so I don't know how, like, she's in the ocean and she's like zapping things with lightning. I don't really know how electricity, power, and water works, but whatever. She seems fine. She's okay. Apparently, she is a glorious thing to behold. So glorious that Acker and Jovie have another steamy scene. And I don't understand the issue because at this point, they've both openly said, like, yes, we both love each other, but they also both hate each other. So every single steamy scene is like, I love you, I can't be parted with you. And then like, oh, wait, never mind, I feel so betrayed. And then like, it's honestly so boring to read. I think she was trying to make it like this, the yearning and romantic part, but they're not yearning for each other. They're just toxic and like, they don't even really talk. This is literally 40 pages, this bullshit. Okay. Messer at one point interrupts a very steamy scene. He opens the door and he's like, oh, hello. Yep. He's like, I will let you get back to what you were doing, but I just want to let you know that Kai is running a little bit ahead of schedule. He's going to be here tomorrow. He's sort of like, have fun. All right, bye kids. And he like closes the door slowly. So there we go. We also have just like really petty behavior. Like Irina, I don't understand this character. Irina has just been put through shit. She has had zero agency this entire book or this entire series, right? She is in an arranged marriage with Acker, so she's engaged. And then he is like, all of a sudden, psych, never mind, I found my match and I don't want to marry you. And then after that, he's like, wait, no, I will marry you. That's great. But I also don't love you, will never touch you, won't let you go home, won't let you have any fun. My friends hate you, blah, 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 blah. But then he keeps her around so that he can use all of her powers. She is basically the only reason why they made it to Melee. Even though she is given the opportunity to go back home, Acker lies to her and tells her that she can't. She has to stay with them because he still needs her powers. And she's just having a shitty time. She does have a consort. She does have a male partner. When she like needs companionship, she does have someone at the palace. But other than that, this girl has been fucked over by these people. I would not be their friends either. Okay. But Jovie is like weirdly possessive and jealous. And Irina said something to her about like, you know, oh, we're kind of in the same ship, right? Like we both loved Acker and he betrayed us or fucked us over. And Jovie is like, we are not the same because Acker still loves me. And so every time they have a steamy scene, she will like report to Irina and be like, I kissed Acker today. How about you? And Irina is like, I'm not interested anymore. He is not the catch that you think he is. This is gross. There is not a likable character except for maybe Messer. They're behaving like idiots. And then we finally get to our meeting with Kai. Okay, Kai is asking for all of the stuff that we already know, so he just repeats everything that Messer told us a few chapters ago, which is boring. But how are we going to kill Ren? Ren has this power of persuasion. What could we possibly do? Frederick is like, babe, not an issue. I can do it. Because of his shield, apparently he can't be influenced either. How does he know this? I don't know. How does his magic work? I don't fucking know. Shouldn't he then be able to see through illusions? Shouldn't he have known that Messer was Wells? Like, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, this is all just so dumb. So anyway, he's like, no, I got it, guys. Like, just get me close enough to Ren. I can sneak up on him. I've got it. Kai is like, I'd love to test this theory. So he tries to get Frederick to do something and he can't. And Kai is very pissed off about this. Meanwhile, Jovie is very distracted throughout this whole conversation because Aurora is here. Why? I don't know. And she's apparently acting weird. And we are very obviously supposed to assume that Kai is using his influence on her as well. And that's just like a nugget that we can keep for later. Okay. But eventually Kai and Aurora leave and we have like a tiny bonding moment. Irina is like giggling and everyone's like, what about that was funny? And she's like, did you see how pissed Kai was when he couldn't influence Frederick? He looked like so offended. And they kind of like laugh at Kai's fragile ego. So yay, friendship. And while we are giggling at Kai's ego, Acker decides to test Jovie's ego. Later that night, he approaches her and he is basically like, yeah, so I'm sending you to go live with Wells' parents. He's like, I'm not having you fight. I'm not having you anywhere near the front lines. And Jovie obviously doesn't like this. Okay, she feels very betrayed by this. She feels like she's just being carted away. And Acker is like, you think I'm doing this just to be like a brat and just to protect you? You forget that I saw you fight in that cave. Remember in the beginning when she and Frederick went to go fight the Strow and he was like there watching, right? He says, I know how you fight, Jovie. You were just going through the motions. You genuinely looked like you couldn't have cared less whether you lived or died. Which is funny because in his POV, we didn't really get that at the time, but apparently she wasn't doing too good. And so he says, like, what was the point of all of this, Jovie? What was the point of wrecking me? Only to turn around and do it to yourself as well. Sometimes I think you didn't believe you deserved the love that we had. And going through with whatever deal you made with Kai was just an easy excuse to leave. He's basically like, why did you ruin my life just to turn around and ruin yours? Like, goddamn, one of us needs to be happy. And he says, I need you to stay alive, Jovie. So you need to go. And he apparently sent Messer to talk to Kai and say that he accepts Kai's conditions, that Acker will never sit on the throne. Acker's like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm kind of a shitty prince. Yeah, we knew that from page 1, okay? Everyone who has read this book is aware he's not good at his job. He's like, I wouldn't be good as a king because my priorities are elsewhere. My priorities are simply you. And he's like, low-key, if you would have me, I would love to just be your right-hand man in melee. I would sit by your throne like a little puppy, could give you advice. I could not. Prince, consort, man around town, whatever you need. Okay? And a steamy scene ensues. The scene is written in such a way that I almost thought, and this isn't true, but I started to suspect that maybe Acker was using the power of persuasion on Jovie because her emotions were just so stupid and all over the place. It was literally like, kiss, I hate you. Kiss, don't touch me. Kiss. These characters don't feel like real people. Honestly, if Acker was using persuasion on her, that would have been an interesting twist. But no, Jovie just has whiplash emotions and is getting on my nerves. Next morning, though, the plan changes because remember how Jovie sent a letter to her mom? It was supposed to be just like, Mom, I'm in Kenta, LOL. But apparently she told her mom to send troops to a specific valley. She tells Acker this and he's like, oh, I know. Yeah, the quill that you were using, it had a metal tip and I could read whatever you wrote. This man's metal slinging is so stupid. This is a man who's supposed to be like one of the most powerful. He has to wear like suppressant collars because people are so afraid of his powers. And he's like, yeah, I could read the quill. So anyway, he's like, great, sounds like we've got a battle on our hands. Let's go. And Jovie is back on the battlefield, maybe, okay? And a battle she got because when she got there, apparently the valley is already surrounded on all sides or something. So battle ensues. There's like, it's unclear what even fucking happens, but they decide to just get the fuck out and go to the palace to talk to the king because the war has now gotten, another army has entered the playing field basically. So let's go talk to Daddy. They dress Jovie up as a prisoner and they make Irina, who is carrying this plot, like literally if we took Irina out, even though she has like no dialogue, why couldn't we have made a main character either A, have a personality or B, have a usable piece of magic, right? Like we're just using Irina so much because we couldn't give Jovie like a usable, interesting power. Anyway, we're going with the story that the reason why Acker ran away to Melee is so that he could come get Bo and bring her back to answer for her crimes. We don't have Bo. If you haven't noticed, Bo is MIA. So Irina is going to use her skills as an illusionist to look like Bo. When they get to the palace, the first person they run into is Hallis, who has been missing for this entire book. And remember, he has a mad crush on Bo and has for years. So he immediately runs up to Bo and is like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 4 years. How are you? And it takes him like 0 seconds to be like, who the fuck are you? Acker is like, I can explain. Let's go somewhere private. Let's talk about it later. Hallis just looks really confused. He's just looking at everybody and he's just like, Ace, you shouldn't have come back. 75%. Let's lock in. We are here to talk to Daddy. We've made it to the palace. We immediately go into the throne room. Hi, King Edmund. How are you doing? And you know what? Irina kind of holds her own as Bo. Jovie's like, damn girl, okay. She basically gets the words right. Like, she gets Bo's attitude, but like, if you actually know Bo, you know that there's like a little something missing. But luckily King Edmund doesn't know his daughter, basically. Doesn't give a shit. So he's just sort of like, Acker, good job capturing Jovie and Bo. This is really great. I always believed in you. And obviously prisoners get sent to the dungeon. So Jovie doesn't. Jovie gets to like bunk with Acker. Okay, they're gonna be sleeping in the same room. Woohoo. But Irina gets sent to the dungeon and she has to just live in the dungeon for a couple days. Okay, this girl, I truly believe that this author hates women. Like there's like, this is so insane. So anyway, Irina gets sent to the dungeon and King Edmund is like, okay, so standing in front of me is Bo. Where is your wife, Acker? And Acker's just sort of like, oh, Irina threw her overboard. He's like, maybe she can swim. I don't know, but we tossed her into the Gulf. So not our problem anymore. And Edmund is like, okay. We go to the bedroom to relax from our journey. And Acker's basically, we got to keep up the act that you're my prisoner. So he chains Jovie to the bed. And she is chained to the bed for pretty much the rest of this story. So if you thought this was going to get exciting because there's only 75% left, maybe something will happen. Wrong. You're so wrong. All right. Jokingly, Jovie is like, why do I feel like you kind of like this? Because this is not the first time she's been tied to a bed by Acker. Okay. And he says, quote, I can't deny there is a part of me that loves knowing she can't go anywhere. It's not something I'm proud of, but it sets off something in me that I'm not ready to dissect.
Hey, I've built myself a flag fort, so I'm just gonna hang out in here and play games and dissociate.
Once again, it's okay because Jovie kind of likes it, kind of. But he needs to go talk to some people now that he's back in the palace. So he asks Messer to stay with Jovie. But of course, he needs to be inconspicuous. He can't just be a man standing in her bedroom. So Acker turns into a cute little house cat, which is really nice. Jovie is like, oh my God, he's so cute. And Acker is like, Messer's a grown man. And Jovie's just like, yeah, but look, he's so adorable. So at least she's entertained. And as he's leaving, she's like, but wait, what if I have to go to the bathroom? And he's like, oh, no problem. This is the next day, by the way. I'm so sorry. Like, he tied her up at night. They go to sleep. We wake up. Now he's leaving the room. Okay, so she has been chained up for probably 12 hours. So she's like, how do I go to the bathroom? And he's like, oh yeah, I got you. And he just like pulls on the chain and gives her like so much more length. And she's like, I have been like in such a painful position, scooted up right next to you, unable to move. And all this time there was extra chain. You could have let me move around freely. And he's like, you didn't ask. We just get a bunch of scenes where Acker is like saying sorry to people. He goes to the dungeons and he's like, sorry, Irina. And then there's another guy, Zion, who is like supposed to be important, but he's not. He's like one of Acker's friends from military who got locked up for reasons that really don't matter. But he's like, hi, Zion, sorry. He goes to Hallis. He's like, hey, sorry. And then he gets called to talk to Daddy. And this is a scene that like is so... Basically, his father is like, you've done so well. You've proven that you're loyal. Now, as a gift, I want to give you another person's magic. And Acker is like, no, thank you. Actually, I'm fine with my metal magic that I don't even use. And King Edmund is like, no, please, I insist. And he brings out somebody who I thought was dead. I totally thought we killed him in book 1, but I guess not. It's Vad. Vad, the Oracle. They were like frenemies at some point. I don't know. Basically, he's like, look, you're gonna stab Vad and get his powers. And Acker is like, wow, reading people's minds, that genuinely feels like the worst. The absolute worst. Like, I'm already sometimes accidentally reading Jovie's mind. I don't want any part in this. And yeah, he kills Vad and I think he gets his power. Honestly, guys, I'm so sorry. I just didn't care. Like, this scene doesn't even matter anymore. So just like, there's that. Okay, Vad is now officially dead. He's died twice, apparently. And then weeks pass and Jovie has spent this entire time chained to the bed. She like wakes up, has breakfast, talks with Messer, Acker leaves and like does his prince shit, comes back to sleep, repeat, repeat. So what is our main character doing for 90% of this book? She's just chained and eating and talking to Messer. Are you having as much fun as I am having? I promise you, we have 3 more pages of notes. We're gonna wrap this up really quick because nothing is happening. Finally, Royson seems to be about to attack. So we gotta all get into position. They all have to split up and Acker is like, Jovie, I love you. What's gonna be your first command to me? Like once I'm serving under your crown. Because remember, he's not gonna take the throne. He's gonna go sit next to Jovie's throne. And Jovie is like, probably something that requires you to be on your knees. And Acker is like, looking forward to it. And then we get a singular page in which Jovie walks out of the palace gates to like go get into position. Messer gets shot by an arrow and Ren just walks up to Jovie and is like, go to sleep. And then everything goes black.
My name is Clara, the capybara, and I will be singing my favorite song. Aww. All alone in the moonlight.
Jovie was unchained and a free woman ready to go be a badass somewhere for 1 page. And now she's asleep. Okay, there are 50 pages left. I'm not even gonna go into Acker's scenes because it's a lot of him just sitting in council meetings and them being like,
we're gonna ally with this person because they aren't allied with us, and I think we should ally with these people, and that
truly, the war is so uninteresting and stupid and people are, nothing's happening. But then King Edmund brings in Irina, aka Bo, to use her power to like tell us who is lying or who is something. Anyway, she needs to use her power, a power that Irina doesn't have. So she cannot perform as Bo. Edmund quickly realizes that he is being fooled and he's so pissed about it that he doesn't notice Frederick come up from behind him and slit his throat. King Edmund is like essentially beheaded, okay? And so we might think, great, the most evil king is taken care of. Now maybe we can figure out some kind of peace. We can stop the war. What else could possibly go wrong? Plenty. Because Ren is there in this like big council meeting, right? And Ren convinces the king of Royson, who came in to have like a peace talk, okay? He convinces the king of Royson, Uncle Chris, to kill himself with his dagger to his head. So now we've got 2 dead kings, and Ren is like, Acker, hey, by the way, buddy, along with your father, Messer might be dead, and we've got your match, by the way. She's sleeping in the back. Got anything to say? Jovie is still asleep. She's just in a coma, laying around. So Ren and Acker are gonna fight to the death. Not now. Not now. Of course not. They're gonna fight a little bit later. And apparently Kai betrayed them. Kai has been feeding his father information about what Kenta, like Acker people have been up to. So that's how he kind of got the jump on Jovie and why she's in a coma in the back room. And so Acker and Ren are gonna fight later, like I said. So Ren just leaves Jovie. He's like, she's sleeping. You can't wake her up. It's fine. And so he just like leaves his hostage, his one bartering piece with Acker, and they wake her up. I don't even know how, but she's awake very soon after Ren leaves. So, okay. And she's awake not a moment too soon because Acker's whole plan is that the melee troops are going to be so angry that she was kidnapped that they're going to come get her. She's going to be like, hey, actually, psych, this was all planned. We're on their side. And the melee troops are just going to turn and help Kenta. They're going to become allies because Jovie says so. Why couldn't she have written this in the letter to her mom? It's also stupid. Melee comes storming into the capital and Jovie just gets on a balcony and is like, hi, it's me, your queen. Forget about this. Drop your weapons. We're friends now. And surprise, the siege stutters, but it doesn't stop because she's just like this little dot on the balcony being like, right. Acker is like, wow, this is it. I'm gonna die at the hands of my mother-in-law. Speaking of mother-in-law, Evelyn appears out of fucking nowhere, close enough that Acker can talk to her. And Acker says, I pledge my loyalty to your daughter. As long as she lives, I live at her mercy. My men are her men. My life is her life. She can do with them as she pleases. And then the queen is like, oh, why didn't you say so? And we're allies. I'm not kidding you when this all happens in like 1 page. The queen is like, I'm gonna kill you. And Acker is like, actually, I love your daughter. And she's like, oh my God. Turn around, guys. We're friends now. Kenta and Melee combine to fight off the waves of Alaha soldiers. Where did they come from? this small island nation. Kenta and Meili are very outnumbered, but maybe not, because what else is running through the gates? Acker's like, what the hell are those? Those, Jovie says with a smile, are rabbits. You know how her mom has, like, instead of guard dogs, she has guard rabbits that eat people? They haven't eaten in a while, they're hungry, and they are set loose on the Alaha front lines. They gobble up a significant amount of forces, but eventually the Alaha soldiers break through, which means that all of those rabbits died. I feel like we just kind of skipped over that. Okay, we're like, oh my god, really cute rabbits, we love them, and then they just like are sacrificed. How sad, okay? And now remember in the last book when they mentioned trolls, and I was like, wow, that's funny. I can't tell if that's a joke or not, because they were like, don't go through the forest because there are trolls. So yeah, there are trolls, and this is written so badly that my notes are such a mess. She refers to them as giants. So I think that trolls and giants are the same thing. They're just giant trolls. But for a second there reading this, I thought there were giants as well. So now we have giant trolls that have joined this fight. And again, we have really had no explanation in terms of like, are there other mythical creatures in this world other than humans and like maybe a giant squid? But now apparently there are trolls that also fight for the Alaha troops. So they apparently can grab a fistful of archers and squish them and then just like... We eventually get a fight scene, and Jovie ends up fighting this guy named Lawson, who I'm pretty sure we were introduced to in another book. And he's just like yelling at her, saying really horrible things. And she eventually puts it together that he is being mind controlled by Ren. And that's why the trolls are working with them, etc. So they're basically fighting trolls and soldiers that are being mind controlled. And like, this is where it's so stupid. Ren has the power of influence / persuasion, right? If he can mind control people, why doesn't he just mind control Acker and Jovie to like kill themselves? Like, why? This whole book doesn't make sense because Ren could just do anything he wants and he's not doing it. Why do we have to have this whole fucking war? Like, it's all so stupid. This hasn't been thought out. This hasn't been thought out at all. This is so dumb. Oh my god. Okay, Jovie gets to where the Meili troops are and gives this boring ass hype up speech. She's basically like, today, you don't fight for me. You don't fight for Meili. You're fighting for yourself. And the soldiers are like, oh my god. Frederick fires up his shield. I think he can shield like a lot of people. So I don't know how everybody's dying either. Again, people's powers don't make sense. Jovie uses her power to make lightning come out of everybody, all the Meili soldiers' weapons, but she didn't warn anybody. So half of the soldiers drop their weapons because they're like, ah, that's scary. So what? But eventually they get into the groove, and apparently the killing is mindless. It goes on and on. We're stumbling over the fallen. We don't stop. We don't slow. But then we do slow because a troll shows up, one of these giant trolls. He's just stomping on everybody. He's just killing people left and right with his body, okay? He's kind of like wobbling around and he's about to fall. And so this is gonna be, he's gonna crush a lot of people if and when he falls. And he's sort of falling towards Acker. And he looks and he can see that Ren is controlling him, and Ren is like pushing him to fall onto Acker. But luckily, because he's so distracted trying to make this troll squish Acker on the battlefield, he doesn't notice when his son comes up from behind him and slits his throat. Again, why couldn't Kai just use his mind power to kill? But anyway, Ren is dead. Kai has slit his daddy's throat. The possession, the persuasion power is lifted. Acker does not get killed by the troll. Great. Then we get this weird scene of everybody like chanting Light Wielder. There's apparently some kind of countdown. Jovie has told them like, wait for the countdown, and we're getting close to 0, whatever that means. And Jovie releases a beam of pure brilliance, and Ren's men don't know what hits them. Apparently they are burning from the outside in, their skin melting from their bones. It goes on for what feels like an eternity, but it was likely no longer than a few minutes. The smell of burning flesh fills my lungs, and the valley is empty of enemy forces. Now it's just a bunch of burnt up dead people with flesh that is apparently, quote, still bubbling and sizzling. And at the center stands Jovie, chest heaving. So Jovie just like massacres everyone. Could she have not waited to be like, maybe they're being mind controlled? Maybe if the mind control is done, they're actually like innocent people who didn't want to be here and they're just following the orders of an evil person. But no, we don't have time to ask questions. She just like kills a lot of people. But who did survive? Kai, Jovie, Acker. Where's Messer? Okay, Messer has been hurt. He maybe died, and even if he's living, he can't shift back if he's injured, which I don't know if that's consistent with what we saw in the first book. But anyway, so yeah, we don't know where Messer is. And when Kai runs up to Acker and Jovie, who are like having a moment, right? Like they all thought they were gonna die. So, you know, whatever, steamy scene. Kai comes running up to them and Jovie is like, no, you don't get to talk to me. Like, you betrayed us. Messer is missing because of you. Get the fuck out of here, blonde boy. Kai is like, I got disowned earlier today, actually. Because Daddy Dearest realized that I'm not actually on his side and I've been like maneuvering things in the background. And Jovie is like, honestly, you're still a piece of shit. That doesn't sway me in any way. Please go away. And Acker is sort of like, girl, you might not have seen this, but he did kind of save my life. He was like, if Kai hadn't stepped in and killed his dad, I would be dead via troll body. And Jovie didn't know that Ren was dead, so she does give Kai a point for that. She's like, okay, I concede. One singular brownie point for you. The last chapter before the epilogue. So short and sweet. I don't know how much time has passed, but they are in the palace. Irina took the battle distraction opportunity to fuck off, and she's back in Strow, which is really nice for her. Acker and Jovie are super excited to start house hunting in Melee because, yeah, they're going to move to Melee. That's awesome. But Acker is like, girl, can we just like discuss something here? Because I have like proposed marriage to you 5 or 6 times already in this book, and I would just really like you to say yes. Jovie is like, babe, we're matched. Like, why do we need to get married? And Acker is like, I just really want you to marry me, girl. I just really want to ask and have you say yes. Just once. Like, can you just do that for me? And so she does. He's like, will you marry me? And she's like, yes. Now for our epilogue. Thank God. Guess whose POV we're in, bitches? Yep. We're in Messer's POV. All right, apparently some kid found him and was like, oh my God, a bird, and nursed him back to health. How does Messer repay him? By flying away. Apparently the little boy named him Goblin, and Messer is like, you know what? Badass name. Thank you for that, but I gotta go. All right, so he apparently has healed. He can't really fly that well, but he's able to just kind of like flap, flap, flap. And he eventually goes through the open window of a carriage. Who's in the carriage? Jovie and Acker. He has healed enough that he is able to turn back into himself. So Messer appears naked as the day he was born, and Jovie, unfazed, is just like, oh my God, Messer, you're here. This is amazing. And Acker is like, I just want you to know that anyone else would be looking at the sharp end of my sword, being that naked, that close to my woman. Let's get you a blanket or something, babe. We can't keep doing this. They decide to turn around and get him a healer ASAP to fix whatever the hell else is wrong with him. But his first question, he's like, no, enough about that. He's like, where's Kai? Why? Because Kai's got his girl. The end. So, apparently, we're going to have a continuation of this series. This duology, the Acker Jovie arc, is over. And apparently now she's working on a book for Messer and Aurora. Because remember, him and Aurora are in love. And he really believes that Kai is controlling Aurora. And he's going to go get her back. So there you have it, folks. This wasn't exciting. It wasn't funny. It wasn't romantic. I was never sad. Half of the characters weren't even around, and Jovie was either in a coma or chained for most of the book. Acker was just running around not doing anything. Like, how could you write an entire book where the characters are so boring and nothing happens? Like, I just don't... Like I said, at least Metal Slinger was so absurd that I could make it funny and it could be a wild ride, right? Like, you never knew what was going to happen. This, I never knew what was going to happen because nothing happened, okay? And we basically, Irina did all the work. And who is even in charge of Kenta now? I don't even remember. It doesn't matter, guys. I don't know. This was just really, really stupid. Who's in charge of Royson? Like, I feel like she clearly didn't care about the world. So she just like didn't write things that I feel like readers could reasonably have questions about. That's that. I made this video because I put in the time to write the script and I wasn't gonna have that time be wasted. So there you go. I hope that maybe I helped you with a knitting project, or maybe you cleaned your house. I hope that editing Carrie, Godspeed. I really hope that you find a way to make this fun. And I'm gonna go rest my voice, drink some water. I've been drinking this coffee for this entire time. It's time to get some clear fluids in me. All right, same to you. Drink some water. I love you. I hope you're well. I'm sorry that I didn't do a board, but honestly, if you had asked me to stand for, oh my God, I've been filming for 6 hours. If you asked me to stand for 6 hours, I would have, no. So thank you for watching it in this form, and Lord of Shadows is coming up next. Those are on my wall, ready to go, and I will be standing for that because as insane as that book is, it's a hoot and hollering good time, and I'm excited to share it with you. So good things up ahead, but yeah, man, let me know your thoughts. If you've read it, go read the Goodreads reactions, reviews. They're honestly more entertaining than this entire book. So I will see you guys next time, but thanks for being on this journey with me. Hope to never be here again. Bye.